Good afternoon, everyone.
What's the matter?
It's 3:00. My name is Jocelyn Campbell. I'm Chair of the Nahant Zoning Board of Appeals. Hi, KK. I see you're on there.
No, it's actually Jen and Rich.
Jen and Rich. Hi, Jen and Rich.
Hi.
Thought you were my old friend KK. Haven't seen her in a while. So we're here today for two hearings. First, I want to make sure all the members are here. So let's see. I see Jake. Hi, Jake.
Hey, how's it going?
And Scott. Hi.
Jocelyn,
David, are you on?
I am.
Great. So today, for the first hearing, we should have David, Jerry, Jake, myself, and Ian. And Ian, are you on? That's you right there. Oh, I see Jake, not Ian. Ian's not on yet. So we'll give him a minute. And if he does not make it, we have Scott here. Yes, we do. We'll be able to get started. Jake, do you want me to call Ian?
I can call him.
Do you mind? I don't have his cell number here handy.
He said he's on his way.
Okay, great.
And you said we were waiting for Jerry too, right, Jocelyn?
We were, yes. Jerry? Yes, Jerry as well.
Okay. There's Ian.
I can
Yeah, maybe call Jerry.
do it. I know it's good. He's always so prompt.
Yeah.
Everyone could just wait a few minutes more. I'm sure everybody will be on shortly. He's running a little late. Says he's sorry. He's just getting in his office. Let's give him a minute or two. He's usually very prompt. Well, while we're waiting for Jerry to log on, I guess we can get started. Because we have a couple little housekeeping things to take care of before we get into our hearings anyway. So good afternoon, everyone. Today is March 31st. It is 3:04 p.m. My name is Jocelyn Campbell. I'm chair of the Nahant Zoning Board of Appeals. And with me today, we have David Walsh. Jerry Raphael is going to join us shortly. And we have Jake Brown, Ian Brown, and myself, Jocelyn Campbell. And on top of that, we also have Scott O'Frias, and he's going to be for the next hearing after the first. And so we have a couple housekeeping matters we want to take care of first. And so we need a couple of motions to tie up some business. One of them is to approve prior minutes. And if I could get a couple of motions. to do that. We also have one continuance on the list for today. So would any of the members like to give me a motion? David or,
I'll move that we approve minutes of last meeting.
okay. Is that seconded by anyone?
I'll second that. Jake Brown.
Seconded by Jake. Okay. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
David Walsh, aye.
Jake Brown, aye.
Ian Brown, aye.
Got a Fry SI.
And Jocelyn Campbell, aye. Okay, and next we have a motion to continue the matter from back on March 17th. We wanted to continue the matter for 10 Fallon Way to August, oh no, I'm sorry, April 14th. Summer's on my mind, April 14th, 2026 at 3 o'clock. Can I get a motion for that purpose?
I'll move that we continue that hearing on 10 Fallon Way to April 14th.
And seconded by?
Seconded by Ian Brown.
Any discussion on the motion?
If there's availability restrictions, Jocelyn, is that for discussion or should we handle that afterwards?
We can handle it afterwards. That's
All right.
fine.
No discussion from me. Thanks.
All in favor?
David Walsh, aye.
Ian Brown, aye.
Jake Brown, aye.
Got a Fry SI.
And Jocelyn Campbell, aye. And lastly, we need a motion to continue the matter for 75 Rear Bass Point Road. Their attorney had called and asked if we could continue it till April 14th at 3:15 p.m. Could I get a motion for that purpose?
I'll move such.
Seconded by?
Jake Brown.
Any discussion on the motion?
Just one quick thing, that means we're not hearing it today, correct?
That's correct. We're not hearing it today. They asked to continue it, so we have to continue it on the record.
All right.
So all in favor?
David Walsh, aye.
Jake Brown, aye.
Got a Fry SI.
And Jocelyn Campbell, aye. Great. Okay, that takes care of all of our miscellaneous business. And let me see now, is Jerry on yet? Jerry? He's not on. All right, so. So do we have sufficient members here without Jerry if we want to get started? We have everyone except for Jerry, because we also have Scott here for the following hearing. I'm asking Jerry if he's having trouble getting on or something. And if so, then we will continue without him. We have enough members here for that purpose. Hang on, guys, he's just trying to log on. Is that Jerry? Jerry Wren?
Hello.
Hi. Jerry, you're on. Great.
Yes.
Okay, we can get started.
Well,
Okay, everyone, it's 3:12 p.m. Sorry for the delay. And again, today is March 31st, and we're getting ready to get started on our hearings. I'm going to make sure that we have pressed record because this meeting will be recorded. And all meetings are supposed to be recorded, so I want to make sure it's done correctly. 1 second for that part. We have 24 people on the Zoom today. Let's see. Okay, we are recording. All right, so the first matter that we have on today is for 47 Little Nahant Road. And that matter is was filed on February 15th, 2025. I'm going to quickly read the advertisement that we placed for this matter. This petition filed by Anuj Chandra, owner of the property at 47 Little Nahant Road. The petitioner seeks to appeal the Town of Nahant's Inspectional Services Department cease and desist order dated December 19, 2025, halting use of the property as a short-term rental. The said order was issued in response to a zoning enforcement request received from a neighbor regarding a non-owner occupied short-term rental operating in violation of the Nahant short-term rental bylaws. Today, we expect that any zoning relief that may be required in adherence to the Nahant zoning bylaws shall be considered by the board. So what's going to happen now is that the owner will have an opportunity to present their matter. When they're finished, the board will ask some questions probably of the applicant. And then when they're done, we'll ask if there's any public comment. After that, we will deliberate and make a decision, hopefully. If not, we'll continue the matter. So if the owner present or their attorney.
Good afternoon, David Glaude here representing the owner of Cal Properties LLC.
Hi, Mr. Glad, how are you?
Fantastic, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Thank you for coming today. You get started.
Thank you. So Cal Properties LLC is the owner of 47 Little Nahant Road, together with its principals, Dr. Anuj Chandra, his wife, Dr. Latika Pandit Chandra, and their daughter, Dr. Anjali Chandra. Because we have 3 Dr. Chandras in this family, I may refer to each of them by their first name.
Okay, good idea.
So Cal Properties and its principals operate 47 Little Nahant Road as a short-term rental. That property is located in the R2 zoning district, which permits owner-occupied and owner-adjacent short-term rentals and does not permit non-owner-occupied short-term rentals. So in mid-2025, the owners applied to the town for an owner-occupied short-term rental permit. That permit was issued August 8th of 2025. And just as background, the Chandras really intended the short-term rental use of the property as a temporary arrangement. Dr. Anuj is in the process of selling his medical practice. He and his wife intend to move up to Nahant and live at the property full-time. In the meantime, their daughter Anjali is a medical resident locally, and so she's regularly at the property. Anuj and Latika also visit and stay at the property regularly. And so they've been operating this short-term rental property. They have strict rules for their guests. They have strict limits on the number of guests that they'll allow. They have a local property manager in case anything comes up when one of them is not there. They make sure it's cleaned after every stay. They have trash pickup, quiet hours after 9 p.m. They don't allow any large groups. They don't allow any parties. They're really doing everything possible to keep the property operating smoothly and minimize any impact on their neighbors. On September 29th of last year, they received a letter from the building inspector asking that they prove that the property is used as the owner's principal residence. I responded on October 29th, providing some of the information the building inspector requested, asking some questions. The building inspector, for whatever happened, the building inspector says he didn't receive that response. So in December, the building inspector issued a cease and desist based on our failure to respond. That cease and desist was, of course, based on a false premise. So we went back and forth on that. When we proved that we had responded to the original letter, on January 9th, the building inspector issued a further letter saying, well, we acknowledge that you responded. The cease and desist stands anyway. And the main premise cited in that letter was that there had been an assertion by an abutter to the property that Anjali Chandra has only visited the house a handful of times during Cal Properties ownership of the property. And that we hadn't rebutted that assertion in the materials we submitted. Well, first of all, that assertion isn't true, but I think that also misses the point. The main issue I'm focusing on in this appeal is that the town has not provided a single consistent definition of how it's interpreting the principal residency requirement under the short-term rental bylaw. So the issue is not really how many times Anjali has visited. It's whether the property is the principal residence of the owner, however that is defined under the bylaw, including its owner, Cal Properties LLC. So what the bylaw says is that owner occupied means it's the operator's principal residence, and non-owner occupied means it's not the owner's principal residence or not within the same building as the owner's principal residence. So already there's a bit of an inconsistency where the bylaw uses owner in some places, operator in others, even in the same sentence. Now the bylaw also defines short-term rental operator as either the owner or a leaseholder with the permission of the owner. So it's not entirely clear, but it seems that the bylaw is structured so that operator means owner. So we can set that distinction aside for the most part. Here, the owner includes the entity Cal Properties LLC. This property is the entity's sole place of business in Massachusetts. The entity doesn't do anything in Massachusetts other than operate this short-term rental. And there's nothing in the bylaw that tells us how to determine the principal residence of an entity owner if it's not its place of business. Now, the building inspector in our back and forth asked for information and specifically about Dr. Anjali Chandra's residence. And we submitted some of that to the building inspector. We submitted more of it to this board before the hearing, including her tax returns where she lists the property as the place she pays taxes from. Her driver's license lists the property as her residence. She has utility bills for the residence. So we submitted that because it was requested. But again, I think that's beside the point because the focus should not just be on where Anjali lives. The problem is the bylaw doesn't contemplate the ownership being in an entity. And the building inspector didn't ask us anything relative to Cal Properties. The building inspector seems to interpret the bylaw to mean that we're looking at the principal residence of the individual owners or maybe the officers of the LLC, but that's not what the bylaw says. And if you allow the building inspector to make that interpretive jump, it just creates further interpretive questions. If the entity has multiple owners like this one, then whose principal residence are we looking at? The bylaw doesn't say. Would it be okay, for instance, if some combination of the owner's representatives was there more than 50% of nights in a particular period? Or does it have to be one individual's principal residence? The bylaw doesn't make that clear, and the building inspector's interpretation of the bylaw certainly doesn't make that clear. If anything, it makes it more unclear. The building inspector has also provided inconsistent interpretations where he has provided interpretations of what principal residence means under the bylaw. His initial letter of September 29th said the requirement is that the owner resides at that address for most of the calendar year. Well, as of that point, September 29th, the town can't have shown that a short-term rental owner didn't reside at the property for most of the calendar year because it hadn't been operated as a short-term rental for most of the calendar year. It had been operated at that point for less than 2 months. So the initial assertion that the property was not owner-occupied at that point can't have been accurate by the building inspector's own definition. Similarly, you can't say as of March 2026 that nobody resided at the property for most of the calendar year because we're 3 months into the calendar year. So that definition doesn't make sense on its face to us. But that's not the only definition the building inspector used. In the most recent letter of January 9th, the building inspector says, well, the town is really using the IRS standard that the owner has to spend most of their time at the property. So now it's not clear if we're still looking at the calendar year. If not, what period of time are we looking at? And then the January 9th letter focuses entirely on Dr. Anjali Chandra and not the entity or the other two owners. So again, it's unclear how to apply that standard or the September standard to an LLC. And in any case, the town has never informed anyone of either of those two standards, except in these enforcement letters to the Chandras specifically. These standards aren't anywhere in the bylaw. It's the building inspector making up interpretations of what the bylaw means. And it's not clear if the town is using the same or different standards for other short-term rentals as opposed to this one, because the building inspector isn't even using the same standard consistently with respect to us. So our issue fundamentally is that the bylaw doesn't provide for how to determine the principal residence of an LLC. The building inspector can't change the text of the bylaw to clarify it. And he can apply different versions of what principal residence means at different times in different letters. Our view is that the cease and desist order needs to be lifted until the town has a short-term rental bylaw provision applicable to properties owned by business entities and clear, consistent interpretive and enforcement positions of how it's treating the language in the bylaw. It's the town's job to define what principal residence means under the bylaw, and it's the town's burden to prove that the property is not an owner's principal residence. It's not our job to try to satisfy the requirements that the building inspector has put on us that are not set forth in the bylaw. And without clear bylaws and rules, owners in the town of short-term rentals are going to have no guidance on how to operate. The town can't enforce the bylaw in a way that's not arbitrary and capricious if it doesn't have consistent standards for how it's going to do it. So we would request that the board order that the cease and desist order be lifted until we're given concrete guidance on what's needed for our compliance with the bylaw and a reasonable time to establish that compliance.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone else have anything else on your side, have anything to say? Was that it for your presentation?
That is it, yes, unless anyone has questions.
All right, do the board members have any questions before we get into public comment? Oh, I have one. No one's going to speak up right away. One of the things that we can do is we can request from you maybe a copy of the operating agreement for the LLC so that we have a better idea of who the beneficial owners are. And this should include a schedule at the end that tells us who the beneficial owners are of the LLC. And that would help us. I think that would solve most of that problem. And the other thing is, just so you know, the building inspector's duty is to interpret the bylaws. That's one of the things they do. So I just want to let you know about that. So next, anybody have any further questions? Jerry, David, Jake?
I've got a couple of questions.
Okay.
So there are three owners of this property, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there are three individual owners and there's the entity, which is also an owner.
Okay. All right. Now, does one of these owners live at 10 DeWolf Street in Cambridge? Or do more than one owner live at 10 DeWolf Street, Cambridge?
I don't know if any owner lives at 10 DeWolf Street. I think 10 DeWolf Street was a residence address in the past, at least of Dr. Anjali Chandra. But I think the focus on where any individual owner is living at any given time is beside the point, because the issue is, we need to look at the residence of the entity as well if the entity is an owner.
Well, if you had an entity that owned the property and then three people, and none of the three people lived in that property, but the entity owned the property, wouldn't that be an issue?
Well, I think that's an issue the bylaw should address, and it doesn't.
Okay. Or are you contending that all three people do live at this property?
All three people do spend time at the property.
Okay. How much time?
I don't have those specifics.
So if each of the three of them lived there for 2 months a year, and it's owned by the entity that Cal Properties, then are you saying that Cal Properties therefore is there year round and therefore they are in compliance?
I don't know. I think it's the town's burden to establish that whether that's the case or not. Right? The bylaw should define whether the answer is yes or no to that question.
You're saying the entity, not the people, correct?
Yeah, if we have an owner that's an entity and the bylaw talks about the owner, then how do we figure it out for an owner entity? That's the problem. The bylaw isn't sufficiently clear for us to figure out how to comply.
Something missing there, but let's see if we can clarify it better. Do any of the three members of this entity live there permanently?
Full time?
Yes.
Yes.
I think at this point the answer is no.
Okay. And when do they live there?
Well, Dr. Anjali Chandra comes there regularly, and her parents visit
Define
periodically.
regularly. What is regularly? Once a month? Once a year?
Yeah, so I haven't gone and gone through a calendar with my clients for when each of them is at the property over different periods of time, because it's unclear to us with respect to the entity what our obligation is to prove. Do we have to prove that one person, one individual lives there permanently full time? Do we have to prove that some combination of individuals live there for more than 50% of the time? It's not clear from the communications we've had from the town, and it's not clear from the bylaw.
So right now, Chair Jocelyn Campbell asked you for the names of the LLC and the managers and et cetera. You can't provide those names now to us?
As far as I know, the principals of the entity are Dr. Anuj Chandra, his wife, Dr. Latika Pandit Chandra, and their daughter, Dr. Anjali Chandra.
What I mentioned, Jerry, excuse me for interrupting, was I asked, that they provide a copy of the operating agreement, which has a schedule at the back that tells us what the beneficial interest is in that LLC. And that's what we'd want to see. So I guess the better question is, to the attorney is, what is the question, with the beneficial owners of people who own the LLC, are they spending their time at this property? Are they living there? Is any one of them living there?
Right. So that's several different questions, and the town hasn't been clear on how the answers to those questions would impact its decision of whether they are satisfying the short-term rental bylaw or not.
Okay. Well, we're asking you right now. Do any of the beneficial owners listed in the LLC operating agreement consider this their primary residence, meaning they live there according to the bylaws most of the time? Do they rest their heads there on the pillow? Are they living there? Because we're hearing that, the daughter supposedly was living there, but that she also is an RA in a dorm. She has other addresses. We saw the driver's license. The driver's license is fine. The utility bills mean nothing because the short-term renters don't change the utility bills to their own names. It should be in the owner's name. So this, everybody wants to help each other out and do the right thing here. So we don't want to be playing with these semantics and playing games. We just want to get this taken care of. So tell us who the beneficial owners are, and is this their primary residence?
So I've told you who the beneficial owners are.
Okay, we know that, yeah.
And is it any one of those individuals' primary residence? Are we defining primary residence as where they spend more than 50% of their time?
Is that, David, that's a fair,
Yep.
is that the
Yeah, do they spend more than 6 months a year, any one of them living at this location?
I believe currently the answer is no.
No. Okay.
Okay, I appreciate your honesty.
So can you name who does live there more than 50% of a year?
Well, I would say the entity. I think the reasonable interpretation of principal residence for an entity is its principal place of business. This is the entity's only place of business in Massachusetts.
Yeah, but an entity doesn't use a pillow.
Right.
Right. So the use of a pillow is now a third standard that I also don't see in the bylaw.
Well,
Here's the gist of it. The gist of it is that you need to tell us again, if you already told us that you do, as far as you're concerned, the three beneficial owners, this is not their primary residence. So now we go to the next thing. Are there any other members that have questions of the attorney or of the client?
I guess
But
is the interpretation or Attorney Glad, how you're interpreting this, or are you saying there's effectively a loophole that could be exploited within the bylaws because an entity cannot reside somewhere physically? Because it's an entity, it's not a human being, it's not occupying the home. Is that what we're saying?
I'm not saying there's a loophole. I'm saying there's a lack of clarity in the bylaw that could be addressed.
And therefore, in Jolly having her driver's license say 47 Little Nahant, but not spending more than 6 months of the year there would allow her to operate as an owner occupant?
Well, we don't know, again, because the bylaw doesn't address that situation. So we're looking for clarity on what exactly the bylaw requires so that my clients can figure out how to comply with it.
Okay.
any other questions?
not right now.
Okay, any public comment? Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or in opposition of this matter?
I would, if I may.
Yes, sir. And your name and address, please?
Yeah, hi, everybody. I'm Joseph Schultz. I live full-time at 45 Little Nahant Road. The house at 47 Little Nahant Road is somewhere between 12 and 18 inches from my property line. I think, as has been discussed, and then listening to this, the issue at hand is that the business operators of this short-term rental do not occupy the property. The bylaws clearly state three categories: owner occupied operator, owner adjacent operator, and non-owner occupied operator. They are clearly non-occupying owners. As I said, there can be no doubt to this. As I mentioned, I live 12 inches from their building. In addition, there are 8 windows facing my property line and 13 total plainly visible from my property or windows in my property, leaving absolutely no doubt that I could have possibly missed them 183 days in any of the last 12 months. Doesn't matter whether it's calendar year or et cetera. They had not occupied the property more than a handful of nights between all of the owners of this enterprise. Even prior to applying for this thing. Can I share something on the screen?
Sure, I believe we're set up to share. Let me double check that for you.
Okay.
Can you try and share first of all, because I think we're set up automatically for multiple sharing.
Do you see this?
Yeah. See here. Yes, wait a minute. It is working.
I guess I have to press the share button. Okay. So This is clarity as far as I'm concerned, also the bylaws. So I mean, we're trying to parse things here, but basically the under pains of perjury, Anjali signed a document saying that that 47 Little Nahant is her principal residence, defined clearly on this document as meaning that I spend most nights of a single calendar year at this address. Of all of the owners of this entity, I've seen Anjali, sorry, forgive me if I pronounce it incorrectly. It's not my intent. The least. I spoke with her once early on because she had left a light on at the property, and I thought maybe she didn't want to burn electric bills and et cetera, and suggested as she was leaving she might turn it off. But certainly has not been to the property and spent the night this year, and maybe a few times in the last 15 months of the ownership. So this the entity or not, Anjali was the one who signed this as her residence. I'll stop sharing for now. We have ample documentation of the comings and goings. There's no way to miss what goes on at the neighbor's house when it sits right on the property line with 8 windows. You can see all the lights. Lights have been staged from time to time, and the lights stay in exactly the same spot for days on end. But the other thing I'll make a comment on is the town meeting where this zoning was discussed, right? And the amendment was put forth by George to exclude residential areas. The intent was exactly that an entity not operate a short-term rental. That was clear. The meeting is on YouTube, you can watch it. It was debated and agreed quite well. And in fact, I think if you go on there, the town attorney was asked at the time, what if an LLC owns and operates these? Because often Airbnbs, that's a requirement for legal liability. What if a trust owns the property? And the response, I believe, was it's the occupant of the property. It's the occupant. We're not talking about owner of an entity or anything else, the occupant. And to be an occupant, as we just saw, I think you need to, and I'm not pretending to be an attorney here. There are plenty of attorneys, including Madam Chairman, I believe, that could do a better job. But nobody's been there for 6 months, sum total of any of the owners. I think the intent was to have owner occupied in residential area, right? And this is very important. It's very important to me and my family as the adjacent owner. When an owner occupies a property and only rents it out on occasion, but this is their principal home, they're going to take much more care with who they rent to, right? Because you'll take greater measure when you're accountable for any damage, crime, assault, or neighborhood disruption, when you have to return to the property and face your neighbors. I really believe that was the intent of the bylaws, and it was well discussed. You can nitpick the language, which maybe is unfortunate, and maybe we move to have it clarified in the future. But I think that's the issue, and that's what we're bringing forth as the direct abutters.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak after Mr. Schultz? Either in favor or in opposition?
Hello, Suzanne Maccarelli, 15 Little Nahant Road. I'd like to speak in opposition of this, and just as someone who lives in the neighborhood, works from home, and walked my dog through the neighborhood daily, passing this property. 3 times a day. I can attest to seeing different cars with out-of-state license plates, different people, pretty much on a weekly basis. And if these people do live there, I've never met the daughter, which is I don't see everybody in my neighborhood every single day. I don't see them outside their house, but I would just like to attest to the fact that this is operating as a short-term rental, and our article that we passed by 70% at annual town meeting, the residents passed George Mahovin's amendment to the article by 70%, and that was a statement that we don't want out-of-town investors buying up our town. Our coastal town is it's our home, but it's very lucrative for out-of-town investors. And this is exactly why we passed that article and that amendment. So I just would like to say that.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. Are there any other persons who would like to speak in favor or in opposition of this matter?
Rob Thibault,
Hi, Mr. Thibault. And what's your address, sir?
78 Fox Hill Road, Nahant.
Okay, what would you like to say?
I sat on the committee that had the principal responsibility for designing the regulations that we have for short-term rentals. Just want to speak for a moment about the intent. When we spoke of owner occupied, we meant that there was an owner on in the home while it was being rented. That was the intent. We did that for 2 reasons. One is, obviously, if there was an issue, it could be addressed immediately, or neighbors would have somebody to speak with immediately. The other issue is safety. When there is no owner present, if a residential building is being used strictly for transient occupancy, which is what we have here, if there's no owner present, that building, if it was designed under the residential code, is not meeting the requirements for transient. So there's a safety issue. Some of that safety issue is mitigated if the owner is present. So where we are now is a mystery to me. I was present when this was voted on. Overwhelmingly, the town said they wanted owner occupancy, and this is what we described to them.
Mm-hmm.
We are not there, not in what we're discussing here. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor or in opposition of this matter?
Mark Paddock.
Hi, Mr. Paddock. What's your address, sir?
Yeah, it's 172 Willow Road in Nahant. And I agree with what Rob has said, and just to comment that it's not just Little Nahant Road that's affected by this. If this precedent were set that this is an escape of what everybody voted on, it affects a lot of us. Now there's a couple other neighbors of mine that are on here. We live adjacent to a street that at one point, I think out of 4 houses, 3 were Airbnbs. 2 of them non-owner occupied Airbnbs, affected the entire area. And I don't know, I'm not sure whether they were privately owned or not, but the problem was the owners weren't in residence. And there actually was one case where somebody rented it out to a criminal, I believe, where the police came and everything. And it just affected the whole neighborhood. So my only point here is the ZBA's decision clearly affects more of a neighborhood than just a couple of houses on Little Nahant.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor or in opposition of this matter? Okay,
Hi,
hearing none.
this is
I'm sorry.
Eric,
Eric, go ahead, Eric. What's your last name?
Eric Curtin, 49 Tri-Mountain Road. And I would also like to reinforce Rob Thibault's comment that owner occupied for most of us when we voted on this years ago meant owner occupied. I, at my residence prior to the current zoning, was subjected to a non-owner occupied Airbnb directly adjacent. And I have to say it was entirely disruptive. It destroyed the residential character of the neighborhood. Parking issues, smoke from outside fires, all hour of the night arrivals. It is extremely detrimental to the residential character that we have here in the Nahant. I would ask the members of the zoning board to really consider the strictest interpretation of these regulations to protect the residents of this town.
Thank you, sir. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor or in opposition of this matter? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed. So we're going to talk amongst ourselves for a little bit, and if we have any questions, we'll let everybody know. Okay. Okay, so the members. Let's see. David, Jerry, Jake, Ian, myself. Scott, you're welcome to chime in, but you can't vote. So we're here just really to talk about, to figure out whether or not we're going to, lift this cease and desist order, let it continue, or how you want to approach this. Do any one of you want to start with any discussion?
I just wanted to start with the attorney admitting that he acknowledged that they don't stay there 6 months out of the year. I'm not an attorney, but I always look for your recommendation as the chair on how to move forward on something like that.
That's fair enough. That's a good starting point because that's an admission. Does anyone else want to add to that?
I think one of the residents had shared the affidavit indicating that at least one of the operators lived there most nights out of the year, which under pain of perjury, which is admittedly not true. And I think just by looking at, there could be clarification added to any element of our bylaws, but understanding the intent of the creation of that bylaw, and I think the precedent that would send, exploiting I would truly call that exploiting a loophole where anyone can create an LLC very quickly and then put their house in an LLC. That would be a precedent that we would be setting and allowing people to run non-owner occupied short-term rentals until the bylaw were revised, which is a huge administrative burden that maybe would provide a little bit of clarity that doesn't seem to be a large issue in our town right now. So I don't think that I think if the family or any one of them were living there, most of the year and they were renting it, I would have no problem with that. I understand that short-term rentals can be disruptive and uncomfortable for some people, but if they're living there and they're able to demonstrate that they are, that it's the principal residence and they're spending more than half the year there, then it wouldn't be a problem, but that's just clearly not the case. So in order to come into compliance, one or three of them would just have to be there for over 6 months. That's the intent. It's a small town. I was at that town meeting too. I think that's the intent of what the town voted on, and everybody's held to that standard.
All right. So Ian and David, haven't heard from you. Did you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I think the only thing I wanted to clarify was that an entity cannot be an occupant. And that seems to be what everybody else on the board is saying as well, even though it's not explicitly called out in the bylaws. I think that also that would be a loophole and is contrary to the intention of the bylaw itself. Something that does not physically exist cannot occupy another physical existence, seems so.
Yep.
There it is. All right, David.
I agree with the other members. I think Attorney Claude actually answered the question properly when he said none of the three lived there permanently. I mean, I don't think we need a lot more information other than that to say that it's against the principles of what this town passed as far as a bylaw for owner occupancy.
David, I would tend to agree. So we've got pretty much a unanimous opinion here about what's going on. But one couple little points I just want to make is that my opinion is that, when I saw that she signed that affidavit, I thought to myself, this is a young doctor, she's a young lady. I don't think there was any ill intent there. It's quite possible that she thought she was going to do it. She thought she was going to be living there full time. Maybe things have changed. I don't know. And I'm sure there's no intent here. Bad intent is what I want to say. So what we can do though is let's just say we take a vote, or if I get a motion to deny the appeal. Uh, because what they're looking to do is to appeal the town's cease and desist order, halting the property as short-term rental. My understanding is that counsel for the town has allowed them to keep operating the short-term rental during this appeal period. So that would have to cease immediately, and we would deny the appeal. But what we would do is probably say, when the family's ready to start having someone reside there as their primary residence, they can reapply. No bad feelings here. We just don't want to have it in its current situation. Is that fair to say?
I agree with it.
All right. Do I have a motion from anyone that can tidy this up? We need a motion to find that that there was no primary residence of the occupants being the beneficial owners of the LLC, perhaps, or the three occupants that we were given the names of, the three doctors.
Do we merely have to just agree with the decision of the building inspector?
We could do that as well, have the same effect.
Okay. I'll move that we agree with the decision of the building inspector and that the occupants have not, and owners have not proven that they are, that they live there more than 50% of the time.
Okay. And is there any discussion? Who wants to second that motion, first of all?
I'll second it.
Jerry? And is there any discussion on the motion? No, all in favor?
David Walsh, aye.
Gerardo Raphael, aye.
Jake Brown, aye.
Ian Brown, aye.
And Jocelyn Campbell, aye. And so the motion really was to show that the applicants had not proven that I could have it on tape. I'll get it down from David for the decision. And therefore, do we need a motion also, David, you think, to deny the appeal?
I move that we deny the appeal of the owners of the LLC.
And seconded by?
Jerry Raphael.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
David Walsh, aye.
Gerardo Raphael, aye.
Jake Brown, aye.
Ian Brown, aye.
And Jocelyn Campbell, aye. All right, so Attorney Gold, I'm sorry to report, obviously you can hear hear us speaking, you know that we've just voted to deny the appeal. And I would stress that, as soon as the family is ready to commit to one person living there, one of the occupants, one of the owners of the LLC, to please reapply. And we'll work it out then.
Understood. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next matter that we have before us today is for 148 Wilson Road.
All right, may I ask a clarifying question
Yes.
from that? Yeah, so again, Joseph Schultz. So, as to not have confusion amongst the attorney and the owners in the future. This property, what does this mean from this day forward, or what day forward? First, I was surprised to hear that the attorney allowed them to continue to operate in exception to the cease and desist, but does that mean they must stop now? Because
Yes.
best we can tell, they're booked out through next winter,
Well,
fall.
I can't testify to any of that. So
What is the enforcement there? And then the second question will be, would you like to provide clarity on what reside means? Does this mean that they can one day decide that they're a resident and then reapply, or do they need to actually be present for 6 months, which I imagine was the original intent, and establish residency before? And I guess this just would be guidance to everybody in the town on how to apply the occupied statute.
okay.
Maybe this isn't the right place, but I ask
Right,
it.
this is probably not the right place to do that. But I think that it's pretty clear that we've discussed the fact that the beneficial owners of the LLC are really the property owners. And that's what we'd be looking for, to see if one of those persons, was able to say that this was their primary residence. I think that's what everyone is on the same page about, that once they do that, then we'll be in a position to give them a new license. But as of right now, we're going to be writing up a decision and filing it with the town in the next 2 weeks. Once they receive that, that's it. Unless there's an appeal period in between, they can appeal. But the prior decision of council to let them continue with their rentals during this appeal process has nothing to do with that. And I can't imagine that would continue. Okay. So that's all we can tell you right now. We'd have to speak to all the town administrators and see how they want to handle any clarifications of the bylaws. Okay. Anyone else want to add to that? I'm not, I'm just the chair. Anyone else? Scott, David?
I think it's pretty clear what we've decided. I don't see what we need to go to it anymore.
Great. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Schultz. Okay, so the next matter that we have in front of us is for 148 Wilson Road. And are the parties present?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. We're running a little late. It's 4 o'clock. Sorry about that. And the first thing we're going to do is we have to read the advertisement into the record. Alrighty. Well, good afternoon. My name is Jocelyn Campbell. I don't know if you were on before, but I'm the chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals for Nahant. And with me today for your matter, we have David Walsh, Jerry Raphael, Jake Brown, myself, and Scott O'Frias. We're a little bit late. We're going to get started right away, though. It looks like we're here on a petition filed by Stephen and Helen Fawcett. That must be you. Owners of the property located at 148 Wilson Road, Nahant, Massachusetts. The petitioner seeks a variance for the construction of a deck and covered porch. The Nahant Building Commissioner denied a building permit because the proposed rear yard setback is 4 feet, where 20 feet is required, and the proposed lot coverage is 31%, where 25% is required. And we are allowed to consider any zoning relief that may be required for adherence to the Nahant zoning bylaws, and that shall be considered by the board. All right. So what we're going to do now is you're going to present your case. We will ask any questions that we have of you. After that, we will have a public comment period where people from the public can either speak in opposition or, or in favor. And then we will deliberate this matter or continue it. So let's get started.
Okay.
Do you have an attorney? Just talk by yourselves.
Yeah, it was just us, so
Okay.
we're representing ourselves.
All right, go for it.
I'll share my screen. Okay, move this out of the way. How do I get this out of the way? Anyway, this is basically the information was provided. I believe everybody has it. The variance we're looking for is the rear yard setback and the lot coverage. The proposal is to extend our current deck around to allow access to our rear stairs. The current stairs do get encroached by splashover during splashover events, and we'd like to seal that in. In order to do that, we need egress up from those stairs. And what we're proposing is a deck to extend around the house with an additional roof covering the front portion only. So everything fits within the R2 setbacks with the exception of the rear yard, which again, according to the building department, is defined by the seawall. Currently, we're at 4 feet with the existing structure, and we will not be increasing that or decreasing that. We will still be at 4 feet. The sketch here shows what it looked like from the front and the side view. The side view shows the roof coverage only on the existing 2-story portion of the house. The deck would extend around, obviously. This again shows the existing on the left side and the proposed on the right side. So we're looking to extend the porch roof to the right and the left side of the house. Only the roof part will only be part of the 2-story coverage of the house. Part of the issue we're trying to mitigate here is access to our rear steps. This house was built hundreds some years ago and has steps into the basement portion of the house. And currently we do have sandbags covering those steps to prevent during splashover events, water ingress. So we'd like to extend this wall and connect into the house, but we still need to continue the steps up. And then obviously we'd like to connect that into a deck that extends around. So that's the proposal. We do occasionally get splashover events where, we're not trying to hold the sea back, but during splashover events, water does splash over onto this wall and can wrap around down into the stairwell, which has the door to our basement. Currently, we have to put sandbags up, and we'd like to extend this wall around. And in order to maintain that egress, we need to have the stairs to go somewhere. So that's what we're proposing. Currently on Wilson Road, all the structures, I would say, between us and the tides do have structures within that 20-foot setback. And I think it's more clearly shown here. This is an aerial view of our property. You can see our property here with the existing deck and the stairwell I was mentioning. And then along the entire area here, you can see all the porches and decks do extend closer to the seawall than the existing zoning will permit. So it does fit in with the neighborhood, and we don't think it would detract from either any of our neighbors or the existing neighborhood. And that's it. I think it kind of speaks for itself. I guess I did have the second page here. I don't know why it's not flipping down, but.
Did you have a plot plan? Was this the one that I was?
Yeah, the plot plan is in.
I got it.
Do you have it? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
The
I know I saw
survey
it.
is in there. Did I skip? Oh, I guess I didn't put it in this Word document. I'm sorry. The plot plan was included in the application, and it clearly shows the extent of the project. And I can pull that up if you'd like to see it. Let me find it. Would you like to see it, or
Yeah, I'll let you put it up in case anybody has any questions. I think it's a good thing to see.
Okay, that would be fine. No, not a problem. Nope. That's not it. Hold on.
I have it if you don't have it. So you
I
I can pull it up.
Shh. Just let her go. Can you? Okay.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's sideways, but.
You know what you can do? You can go over to the left where it says organized pages. Go to organized pages. It's the green one. You right there. If you click on that, then, oh, you don't have that plan. Okay, never mind. I was gonna say, because then you can turn it around.
I could probably turn it around in a view.
I think view you can
Yeah.
escape here.
Just press escape and I think you can get out of that.
Well,
Sorry.
easy for you to say.
Or maybe just press on this. Click on your plan again. Maybe you'll come to the front.
Okay.
Not that thing.
tell me
Just click on
something.
your plan. Click on your plan.
I've tried to click on the plan. I'm
I
sorry.
won't.
It's
Sorry.
Adobe
My
trying to
fault.
tell me something, and it's really aggravating.
There you go.
Well,
All right, that's okay. All right, so
I'll let you share it. How about that? And
You
then
can
we'll-
rotate. You can rotate it in the bottom right. See that like little arrow above the magnifying
yeah.
glass at your bottom right? That like circular
Bottom
arrow.
right.
Bottom right.
I got rotate view.
Bottom right.
All right. North is now vertical.
Good. Okay, so let's get questions from the members. Does anybody have any questions?
So the letter from the building inspector, just to look at some of the dimensional requirements. So the existing rear yard setback was 4 feet and it's staying at 4 feet, right?
Correct. You can see on the plot plan, the existing deck, and it's at 4 feet plus or minus. And this proposed addition on the left side, this L piece is what's in question. Everything else fits within the existing setback.
So Jocelyn, this wouldn't be an increased nonconformance, right?
Well, let's talk about it. What is increasing? I mean, your lot coverage is going up.
I have a question about the lot coverage too, but the actual setback itself remains 4 feet, right?
That's the same. It looks like it's if anything, there is, if you look to the left there, it's an extension of it. So it's not an increase.
Right. It extends to the left, of course, but it's not an extension it's an existing nonconformance that's remaining at the same
It
setback.
looks like it, yes.
So I actually question why that setback was included as a rejection of the building permit, because it's not making that any worse.
I'm guessing because it's an extension of it, because right now it's only on one side of that square, it's only to the right there where it says existing deck, he's adding on to it. So it's an extension of it. That's my
Okay.
take.
Yeah. I kind of interpreted that as like, the rear setback is still remaining the same if you extend it out, as long as the the left side setback doesn't become non-compliant, that there's no increased nonconformance there. But I guess that might just be my interpretation. The other question I have is did the building inspector calculate the lot coverage up to 31%, or was that done by your?
No, that was the surveyor.
Okay, because I think
there was some questions on that, as what is included in the lot coverage, whether it's the covered area or the deck. And again, I don't.
Where does that roof start?
The existing roof covers the front portion and out to about 3 feet. The proposed deck, the roof would actually go up to where these steps go up. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
On the right, these steps don't actually exist. This deck will be flush with that deck. But right where it says existing stairs or whatever, I don't know, it says existing stairs, but there are existing stairs down to the yard now. That is where the second story. So this back portion of the house, this last 10 feet of the house, is actually only 1 story tall. And so the roof is going to only end where this existing second story is.
That top left portion that you're adding on.
Yeah, let me just show it here. Here is where the roof will end.
Okay.
Did that make it clear?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, if I understand it correctly, there's no roof there's no covering over that porch on the back of the house.
No, and this little box here on the right is the existing first story. And the deck kind of wraps around that as an L shape.
Okay.
So the house has a second story only from this portion towards the front.
The reason I ask is because depending on the lot coverage calculation that was used, I know from our footprint definitions, it excludes open porches. So if
I've heard both sides of that as well, and from the building inspector, because he was new when I brought this up, and the question was what is included in the lot coverage.
Yeah, so I would
we've
just
got to go
question
to-
it might help. The reason why I'm asking is it might help your case because it might be less than 31% if the calculation could exclude open porches. And the reason why I ask both those questions is because if you don't have an increased nonconformance with the 4-foot setback, and if that 31% is actually closer to 25%, from my perspective, I don't know if an appeal is actually needed or if a variance would actually be required. So my only open question is how is the lot coverage calculated? And aside from that, I don't have any other questions, Jocelyn.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? David?
Jocelyn,
Scott?
I have one question. Why did we get um, why did we get two different rulings from the inspector? One on January 7th and the next one on February 13th. But the one on February 13th being, I'm not sure what he was trying to say.
I can explain that for you pretty well.
That
The
would be
reason is
great.
that when we got the first application, I noted that it's supposed to appeal within 30 days, and that 30 days had expired prior to receiving the letter from the applicant. So I sent it back to the building department and asked them to notify the applicant that they could reapply to the building department, get a new denial letter, and then they could reapply because they had not applied in the 30-day period from the rejection.
Okay.
Okay. I was
Makes
trying
sense.
to help the homeowner.
Yep.
Didn't mean to
All
confuse them. Yeah. Okay, so any more questions from the board?
So you're adding a covered porch around the whole right, left side, and it shows the south side. You have a photo of the south side view without the porch.
Correct.
Then you have it right beside it with the porch. So
Yeah.
basically you have this roof that goes to the right-hand side, south side of your property, and it's within 15 feet. And what are the setbacks there? Is it a 20-foot setback side yard over here?
Side yards are 10 foot, and we're well within 10 feet of the
Yeah, I
deck
see that.
and the roof.
Yeah,
On both
you got
left
15
and
feet on one side, and you got 14 feet on the other.
right.
On that south
Currently
side?
19.1 and it's 12.2. The proposal is
I'm
12.2.
looking at it differently. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so it's 12.2. So you're still in compliant of the set backs, and that's important to me. So. Jocelyn,
Yes.
what are your thoughts?
Okay, so my thoughts are I want to take a look back at the definition for purposes of the lot coverage, but if we are not creating a new nonconformity, we are extending one. The side porches don't seem to create because you're inside your setbacks.
Yeah.
So that's not really a big concern of ours. However, the lot is still non-conforming, correct? So that's an issue. We need to make a determination whether we need a variance and or a special permit, or whether we feel as though this is something we can do with just a special permit. What's everybody's feeling on that?
I think if we go, it's the lot coverage piece that would need the variance, right? Because the lot coverage existing is compliant. And if they want to go to 31, that creates a new nonconformance, which would require a variance rather than the special permit, right?
Right.
But I actually think the rear yard setback, I don't even know if that needs a special permit because it's not making anything. It's not making it less than 4 feet. I know it extends out, but if it was encroaching on the left yard setback, then I would think that that would actually create a new nonconformance, and both of those would be variances. But I don't even know if the rear yard setback, based on the wording in our bylaws, actually requires a special permit. But maybe I'm just misinterpreting that.
Okay.
And where would you determine where the rear yard setback is because of the ocean's back there? It would be the low water.
I guess that's stone wall, right?
Well,
They're using a stone wall, but
yeah,
But
they use
maybe,
stone
yeah,
wall.
Jerry, that's a good question though. I
But
don't
the
know.
property line goes beyond the stone wall by 100 feet or so. If you look at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
low tide. So, I mean, I don't see them having any issues with the setbacks.
Yeah.
Because that's if you go to the main low tide, my lot doubles and I don't see a variance in either one of those.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons why the first permit took so long, because I was discussing this with the building commissioner off and on over the course of several months. And that's why the first one expired.
okay.
Josh, have we run into examples like this in the past? I'm not saying to like transpose a prior matter or anything like that, but when we deal with houses that are right on the water, have we typically used the mean high tide or mean low tide?
Um, yes, we've dealt with that before a little bit. But I think we can probably figure this out. Let me just take a look at, I want to share something I've sent to everyone in the past, just for purposes of discussion. I think it'll be helpful. So this is a presentation that I think I've sent in the past, and I love it because it kind of gives us a really clear picture, especially in this scenario. When do we need the variance and when do we need a special permit? This is from the vested rights presentation. And here we have, and also, do we need a section 6 finding if we're going to do a special permit? So when you have an extension that does not increase or intensify a nonconformity, right? It's allowed by right. Okay. But when you have one that intensifies a nonconformity, in other words, it goes into the setback or what have you, it's permitted with a section 6 finding on a nonconforming lot. So then you get into, does it intensify the nonconformity? If it does, it's permitted with a section 6 finding. Does it create a new nonconformity? As you said before, Jake, it requires a variance and a section 6 finding. So this kind of makes it nice and clear and easy for us, really, because it seems to me that this extension in the back or we don't know, so we don't have a square footage or a distance for us to the low mean tide line. And I know that the tide goes out really far there. So
they actually put it on the survey.
mhm.
I had to go back to them and it said 50 to mean low tide plus or minus.
Yes,
So
yes,
it's
I
at
did
least
see that.
50 feet, which one could argue that that's included in my lot.
Mhm.
The ratio goes down by at least 50% and becomes a moot point.
Okay. And it doesn't look like the side porches are, those would be allowed by right, would they not? Does anyone else disagree with that, other than the fact that the lot size?
Yeah, but the lot size it fits the neighborhood. Any lot in that whole neighborhood is under 10,000 square feet, and they're pretty much equal size lots.
But it's still not conforming. I'm just trying to figure out what do we have to grant, if anything?
I think if we're interpreting it conservatively, I would say like it would fall into the section 6 finding and special permit for the 4 foot because it's 4 feet to 4 feet. But if you interpret it as, potentially extending it or making it more non-conforming, it's already an existing non-conformance and it's remaining with the same setback. It's just moving that non-conformance over. But you're still within the left yard setback. So based on this excerpt, then it falls more into that special permit in section 6 finding,
Okay.
but not a variance, right?
I would agree. I don't see yet the
Yeah.
reason for a variance here. Is Rich still on the line? Rich and Jen, are you still on? They were on the line earlier. They may have hopped off. Just gonna ask for some input there, but okay, they're probably off. All right, so we have to decide how we're gonna go with that, and if you feel as though it does not increase or intensify nonconformity, we still, because it's a nonconforming lot, have to, make a determination. So is this, what is the feeling of everybody here?
I feel that it's not making any difference. So the covered porch, is that part of the?
Let's take a look at the bylaws. And stop my sharing so I can get into the bylaws.
Looks like open porch was excluded.
Right.
Yeah, areas excluded from gross floor area are still subject to all dimensional requirements, including setbacks and maximum building coverage.
So I guess that means it doesn't include, it's excluded except from the coverage.
Yeah, we ran into this problem before with trying to. Oh no. Well, are we interpreting maximum building coverage as lot coverage?
Usually, yes. Mm-hmm.
If those are the same thing, then I mean, the question I have then is, did the surveyor include the open porch portion in that 31%? Because it might actually be closer to 25.
Well, we can try to figure that out. Get the area of the property and do the math. It's so close. I mean, it's not really, I don't think it's a big concern.
Okay, yeah. I think
Go ahead, Jake.
regardless of the, variance versus doing a recalculation to see if it's at 25%, Jerry, I think you were saying the same thing, that it fits the same themes as all other properties on that road. And I certainly wouldn't have an issue. I think it would, solve the issue that the owners are looking to solve, and it would fit within the neighborhood. And if a variance could help get them there, if that's what we think is required, then I don't see an issue with that. But I don't think that the setback is an issue. I think it's just the lot coverage is the thing that would require the variance. And I don't think that variance would result in a detrimental addition or anything to the property or the neighborhood.
Well, we have to determine if we're going to talk about a variance, what is it that's unique about this particular lot that would make a variance applicable?
This other size non-conforming?
But size is never an issue. It has to typically be soil conditions, shape, topography that's different than in the neighborhood, the generally affected district that it's in. And, little enforcement of the bylaws would be a substantial hardship.
I think they're, during high tides or storm events, it sounds like they're getting water on in their property. And this would this would alleviate that. At least that's what the owners are saying.
Part of hardship? Would that be part of the hardship?
Yes. Could be. I I wish I knew I was trying to do some calculations here. I wish I knew the engineer's calculations, what he used.
Yeah, I've looked at those numbers and it's so close. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get to 25%. I'll just be honest with you. We can decrease the size here and there, and in order to achieve what we're trying to do, we're so close to 25% given the 7,000 square foot lot.
You might be closer than you think. Like if you have a lot of open deck on the back, right? And if you could exclude that, that might get you pretty close. And I think the other answer, not to belabor the point, but if the property line goes out to mean low tide, that adds your denominator increases pretty
That's
substantially there. So
also
the reason why I'm asking a question is because it might result in really not much being needed here other than a section 6 finding and a special permit.
I think he did add that deck, and that's open deck. It doesn't have a roof on it.
It doesn't have a roof on it.
He did add that, so that could.
All
But
right.
the existing deck doesn't have no roof on it. Doesn't show it on any plan. So
I'm just taking a look at the assessor's records to see if it tells us by, the footprint, what is in there for, for area. And it's just taking a little while to come up.
So it shows it 10, 20 feet by 18 feet. So 10 by 10. What's the square footage of that deck?
Where'd you get that from, Jerry? I'm not seeing that.
They get a cut sheet here, deck framing plan, and on the back it shows dimension, and the dimension is 10 feet. It's 20 feet by 8 feet is one of them, right? So it's 160 square feet, and then there's another 10 by 10 area. So it's 220 square feet on that open porch area.
Are you talking about the area that is just
the
without
area
the porch?
opened? Yeah, there's a deck out back that doesn't have a roof on it. Existing deck. The new portion of it all has a roof, and that's what they calculated. And I'm thinking that they added the 80 plus the 100, 180. Am I adding this right? 10 times 8 is 80 plus 10 times 10. 180 square feet from that deck. If he added that deck, they could reduce the coverage by 180 square feet. I don't know if that makes a difference on the 25% or not. So
yeah,
the math is really close. So I don't see a problem with this. I just don't know how you would, with this, is this chapter 6 hardship? It's a variance. Can we still give a special permit on something like this, Jocelyn, or we have to decide on?
Well, we can't give a special permit unless the bylaws allow us to.
Correct.
And we can use a special permit for certain dimensional, changes on a non-conforming lot if we can make a section 6 finding, that it is not more detrimental to the neighborhood. But I was kind of leading into that. I wanted to check the actual square footage, and I took a look at the assessor's card, and sure enough, there are dimensions on here for us. So let me just share that real quick. You can see it. And that we should take care of it. Okay. it looks like, now this part here, can everyone see?
Yeah.
Okay, so the back is the area that's the open deck, correct? So this
Right.
part here is the other dimensions we're dealing with here prior to the porch. So you've got an 8-foot, a 23, and it looks like a 12 and a 7.
It's 184 square feet plus.
That's 50 feet total, front to back. Is that correct, Jerry?
Your dimensions are 23 feet by 8 feet, correct?
No, you've got an 8. You've got an 8 for the part on the water side, it looks like.
Yeah, the
And then
water side.
23.
Yeah.
Then a 12.
Yeah.
So 23 and 8 is 31. And 12 is 43. And then you've got 7 feet on the front. And that's 50.
What's that little bump out on the
Right
right?
here you're talking about that, looks like a little bay window maybe?
Yeah, yeah.
The bay window area that's going to
Yeah.
be covered by the proposed, so it will be part of the proposed coverage.
But it's like 4 feet out, so it's 25 feet wide, this structure, Jocelyn? Or
Correct. Well, we've got
20 feet wide.
20 feet wide, yeah.
yeah.
And just for clarity, the 8 feet on the left side near the ocean is not covered.
It's not covered.
Correct.
The existing deck that you're showing on the framing plan is not covered.
Correct.
None of the roof coverage will not extend past the existing deck, or
Correct.
it will go up to the existing deck and stop.
You have a framing plan here that
Yes.
we're going off of. This is what you're building, so.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sorry, the
That's
8 by
good.
11 in the top left-hand corner, that's not covered?
Correct.
Correct.
Oh,
So just
You got the framing plan?
yeah.
3 and the 12.
It looks like it's covered because you can see the existing house.
Yeah, but it's not on the framing plan. If you see how it shows a roof on three sides of it. This side here is not covered. It's an open deck that was pre-existing.
Gotcha.
They're not covering that. This is the front of the house right here. So that's existing, really. They already have an existing roof in the front. They're connecting the right and left. And
There's not that much covered property like going on this. That's why I don't. That's a pretty big jump in lot coverage. Almost 10%. I don't think it's.
I think this is a good project.
Yeah.
Any neighbors in opposition? Do you? Anybody here?
The 2 neighbors are online if you want to talk to them.
One sec, let's just finalize this. It's just issue with the lot coverage, please, first. All right, so we've got a total, it looks like a total coverage of 840 square feet. Correct?
Yeah.
And the total lot is 7,224 square feet. So my math isn't working out here.
$8,640.
So you take the total lot area, you divide it by the, you take the total footprint, the footprint, which is 840. You divide that by the lot area with the lot, which is 7,224, and then you multiply it times 100 to get your coverage.
And
Mine comes to 11.6. That can't be right. You guys get anything better?
what are your dimensions again?
Total footprint,
Yeah,
which is 840 square feet,
That's all right with the numbers.
840. Yep.
divided by the lot area, 7,224. And then I believe you multiply it times 100 to get the correct percentage. All right. So we've asked our questions. Let's think about that for a minute. Let me know what you come out with, Jake. And before we move on, let's get to the public comment because it's getting pretty late. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor or in opposition to the project?
Yes. Hi.
Hi, Kathy. Sorry to keep you waiting. We've been busy talking about calculations.
Can you see me? Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Well, I am in opposition of the project.
Okay.
I would like to just say hello. Thank you, members of the board and Nahant neighbors, for a little time listening to me tonight. My name is Kathy Ryan. My husband Jay and I live right next door to 148 Wilson, and we are the direct neighbors and abutters to the property. I'm speaking.
Sorry. Which address? Which side?
We are 154, so we are the bigger side of that. We're the one with a little bit more footage, I think. Yeah, between homes, with the direct neighbors right next door to 148.
Okay.
I'm speaking for both of us just to express our opposition to the new covered porch and deck expansion, and hope that you will deny this request for variance based on the building permit denial. We all know Little Nahant is unique. I don't know how many of you live in Little Nahant, but it's incredibly dense, and especially on Wilson Road. We've lived here for over 30 years. In our opinion, the zoning laws are our only protection against what we've seen happening over the years here in this neighborhood, which I would like to call house creep. So pretty much what happens is somebody builds a little something without a permit, and then another piece without a permit, and all of a sudden a house that was this big is just a little bit bigger. And then another owner can come in and build, and it just gets, then they add a porch and it gets a little bit bigger. We've seen it. I have examples. I don't want to get into examples tonight, but I want you all to be aware of that. And I was a little disappointed when I came on ZBA. I didn't realize that this is the first one I've ever been, but it's almost like you guys were trying to, how do we make this work rather than how do we protect the neighborhood? And the, I'm surprised more than anything. In our opinion, we feel as if it's really a massive wraparound addition when you're living next door. I know that, I think it was Jake. I know, Jake, you said, well, it doesn't seem to be that big, but it really is. Every inch matters in our neighborhood, every foot. So in our opinion, Steve and Helen have been great, and it's not about them. The issue is when, it's not big Nahant. We don't have any buffers. We have no land. We have no trees. We have no breathing room in between our homes. We're right on top of each other. And we all chose to be here, but we have to, I really feel like we have to hold up the local zoning laws. As it stands now, we can hear conversations from inside people's homes, let alone what happens on an outdoor deck. And I know typically you grant variance for substantial hardship, something involving public safety or accessibility, but this doesn't seem to be any of those to me. I know you threw the word hardship out there, Jake, but I think the water splashing over the wall, I can't imagine that being a hardship rather than we have to build a bigger wall. So in my opinion, it's more of a luxury, and it's a luxury that our neighborhood just can't afford to lose space for. So that's where I stand. I'd be all for anything internal, it's the footprint, anything on the expansion of a footprint, we just can't afford it in this neighborhood. And I'd be supporting anything internally, a hardship if you had to build it for whatever, pipes or electricity, or if you needed a new shed for something like that, I understand. But this is, we've lived here 30 years, never had to, get in touch with ZBA. We've never done anything like this, but I just want you guys to understand from our perspective. I thought ZBA would be more like, okay, not how do we not make this work, but how do we look at the building code and really try to uphold it, unless it is a hardship or something that isn't in harmony, as they say, with the neighborhood. So
let me just address that for a minute before you, Kathy. Real quickly.
Okay.
One of the things is that we first look to, technically, can it be done? Because if it can't be done, there's no point in us doing anything else.
Yes.
That's the first
Yeah.
thing we always look to. Can it be
Okay.
done, really? We don't look at the building code necessarily. We look at the zoning bylaws and also the case law that's out there to support in Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, which is the
Okay.
zoning law. So that's what we look to first, to our bylaws, and to see what we can allow, what we can't allow. Because until we figure that out, we don't even know if we can even do it. Never mind if we want to do it. So that's where we are.
Okay.
If in fact this was not all the way around the house, would you still be objecting to it? Just curious.
Yeah. I'm not
Even if it was on one side or whatever. Okay.
I just don't think we should build out. And I mean, I don't want to get into detail. I can do that privately. I don't want to do it publicly, but some things have been done in the past that have already expanded the property without permits. Now we're going from the already expanded to more expanded, and then a new owner will come in. And it has nothing to do with the current owners at all. They are awesome. They're doing everything right. They're doing it above board. They're doing it with the, permitting process. But what happens is, as the properties around here turn over, everything seems to get a little bigger. And this road in particular, other than around the school, that, highly dense area, you really can't afford it over here anymore. We just can't. And I just hope that all of you would consider that when you're making your decision. And my other question is, I know it comes to the whole percentage and lot, and whether it's at the low means mark, but does that mean that the calculation from the building, I don't know if it's inspector or I don't know if it's building inspector or what's the other one from Swampscott? What's his title? Commissioner. Does that mean their calculations were incorrect? Would that mean are you guys questioning whether their calculations are incorrect?
They don't do they wouldn't be doing the calculations. So the questions that I was asking, and to just kind of add on to what Jocelyn is saying, is just to make sure that all the information that the zoning board is getting is the most accurate information, because it's a culmination of people that provide information to the zoning board that, and it comes from some different sources. So it's not completely calculated by the building inspector and handed to us. If
I understand that when they rejected it initially, the numbers that they had, the same numbers that you guys are looking at, right? Are you questioning whether they did it correctly is my point. And this is out of a lack of not understanding.
My question is if the surveyor calculated the lot coverage, what calculation they used to calculate lot coverage.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, everybody. And I just wanted to make sure that I spoke out, because for 30 years we haven't. That's the problem. We never do. We never show up at the ZBA. And I just wanted to make sure we did tonight.
Well, I can tell you that at least 2 of our members do live on Little Nahant, not over there. And that's what we do.
Oh,
we are familiar with it. Okay. So thank you very much, Kathy.
Okay.
Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in favor or in opposition of the project? Hi. Good evening. Hi.
Hi, this is Irene, Irene Lincoln. I'm actually on the opposite side of Helen and Steve. I am at 144 Wilson Road.
Okay.
I popped on because I got an invitation from the town. Thank you very much. And I have I've seen these pictures and diagrams and whatnot. Kathy and I have actually spoken about this. And I just came on to say that I'm in agreement that as far as the town of Nahant, I was raised in Big Nahant. I've been in Little Nahant now, well, between my dad and myself for over 25 years. Our plots of land over here are so tiny that we have all these rules and regulations in place for a reason. And with the extension of such a large deck, it's going to feel like we are right on top of each other, even more than we are already on top of each other. So I am going to leave it up to the board to decide on the proper zoning and authorize it accordingly. And that's really all I have. I understand Steve's concern about the water. We do get a lot of splashover. I had to reconstruct an entire seawall. I know that there's leakage on the wall on his side. That eventually will also have to be dealt with. And trust me, that's going to be a big project. It was a huge project for myself. And I know you want to protect your property best you can when you're right on the water. I hope he is able to enclose those stairs somehow to better control that for himself. But I'm going to leave all judgment up to the zoning board to take care of it according to Nahant guidelines.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your input.
Can I just add?
Okay.
Oh, sorry, it's Kathy again. I just have one question because I didn't see it anywhere unless I missed it. Does this have to go through Conservation Commission or not? Because everything seems to have to go through it, and I just didn't see anything regarding that. Thank you.
I would imagine it would, and I don't know that it has yet. So that's not that we don't usually have to hinge our decisions on that. So.
Okay, thank you.
It's not been checked off, I don't think. Oh, they use the old form. That's why we have a form now, a new form that requires them to check off conservation, and this was the old form.
This has been approved by conservation.
Okay, great.
Back in November.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor or in opposition? Okay, hearing none. We're going to all talk amongst ourselves for a few minutes, and then we will get back to you. Okay, members. It looks like we've got a little bit of opposition here. I'm going to suggest a couple of things. If any of you guys can talk about it, we can either talk to the owner about maybe scaling down this porch a little bit. I was a little struck myself when I saw that it was all the way around, and whether or not that's necessary. And is there a minimum amount of porch that he would solve his problem with the water on the water end? A minimum amount of side or covered porch, maybe, instead of going all the way around the house. Is there something in the middle? Do we want to ask for that and ask for a continuance? Or do you all want to take a vote on this today? Does anyone have any feelings on that?
Yeah, right. I agree with you. I keep looking at this and saying, is there any way to scale this back just enough to appease the abutters, but still resolve the problem that they have with the water getting into the house? And if that can be done, I'd like to, see if we can, postpone it for 2 more weeks and come up with a plan that's agreeable to everyone.
How does everybody else feel?
I think for me, it comes down to the numbers and what the calculations were. I think the, neighbor feedback is incredibly important because they're the ones that, they're the ones that live there and they have the most, insight into what that type of project actually would do to their property. And ultimately, if we are considering any sort of disruption or anything to the neighborhood, then the neighborhood feedback for me is obviously really, really important. I think to be fair to the applicants, though, it would be good to understand what the actual calculation was, because at the end of the day, as the neighbors have said, the zoning laws are the zoning laws. And the concern sounds like how much it's approaching their property, which they're still within the zoning setbacks. Even with this projects, they're still within the zoning setbacks for side to side. But completely appreciate what they're saying that, space is limited and making houses bigger can be a challenge on Little Nahant, as we know.
And I think, Jake, if we did continue the matter, we would have an opportunity to get to the bottom of those numbers.
Yeah, I think we need that.
Yeah, I think to be fair to the applicants, but also, fair to the neighbors concerned here, if we're hinging decisions and they ask from the community here is to obviously review the zoning bylaws as we do with every matter, then we should confirm those calculations to make sure that the 31% is actually the 31%.
Okay.
That's
all right. So
my opinion, though.
Applicant, Mr. and Mrs. Fawcett, is this something that you would consider? Would you prefer that we take a vote tonight, or would you prefer to take another look at your plans, see if there's a way you can scale this back a little bit, and then perhaps ask your surveyor to give us a description of how he came across his numbers? That would be helpful to us.
Certainly we can do that. Let me just comment. The first question I have is, does Nahant recognize the property ownership to the mean low tide?
Well, I think in Massachusetts, that's the law, is it not? I mean, that's my understanding.
Yeah, okay.
The mean low tide. But for zoning purposes, just so you know, for zoning sometimes is a little different than other aspects of the world. So
okay, no, I understand that. And my question has not fully been resolved by anybody yet. If indeed mean low tide is my property line, then my property area goes up by another 50 feet. And that should be included in the lot coverage calculation. And therefore there is no zoning appeal that has to be made because my lot goes to 50 feet more according to the plot plan that exists.
Okay.
And if that is indeed recognized as part of my lot, then my denominator goes down, those numbers go down by 50%, and all of that is within the calculations.
Okay. So why don't we do this? Why don't we continue this matter, and we can then figure that out for you between now and then. I'll try to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, just quite frankly, I've spent an inordinate amount of time, had 3 canceled applications, $4,000 out of pocket, and I have yet to do a single thing on this project other than ask for permission to do it. Right. Which at some point it becomes, it's not that important, but it is important to keep the water out of my basement and have my wife not have to move sandbags to take the dogs downstairs to wash them. And
we understand that, sir. So that's why we're saying,
and that's all. I mean, it's cost a lot of money. It's been a lot of time, and I cannot get an answer. If I can get an answer on, does my lot extend to that, and then the calculations can be done appropriately. My problem is the surveyor did not, he said the wall's here, and I'm like, that doesn't say the property line's here. And
so we're giving you an opportunity. You understand? We're giving you an opportunity to come back with the right numbers from your surveyor, so you have information. Right now, your setbacks seem like they're within our bylaw, so we just need the calculations of those numbers.
But but he's using the seawall as the property line. He's using the 7224.
I mean, whatever he's using. I mean, we're just asking you. I mean, take into consideration your neighbors, take into consideration how big this project is, and take into consideration how much that you need from us. I think we can work together as, if you come back with some numbers that work and the setbacks are there, and maybe you can work out some, something with your neighbors. We could probably help you here. Right now, this is, we can't make a determination because when the numbers are not right, number one. Number two, you have neighbors in opposition. So
on both sides.
That's fair.
Okay. So the earliest date that we have scheduled is the 14th of April. It's in 2 weeks. Would that be enough time for you, sir, to put together some kind of modified plan?
If you need another certified plot plan, that will not work.
I think the plot plan would probably be, I'd say, I'm gonna ask the board members if they agree, but Jerry and everybody there, I think the plot plan is not so much the issue. It's really more scaling back the porch a little bit. Can you maybe do away with some of it? And what do you absolutely have to have? Ask yourself that question and see it. We'll see if there's something that can be done. Try to get it done in 2 weeks. And if you can't, when you come back in 2 weeks, tell us and we'll give you a little more time.
Okay.
Okay. And if you can get it to us before the hearing, it'd be good because then we can let the other, boards have a copy of it. Okay. So we'll be the Jen from the building department will send you a form to sign regarding the continuance. And I need to get a motion from the board to approve the continuance of the matter for 148 Wilson Road for 2 weeks to April 14th. And I'm going to suggest that would be at, I've already got something at 3:15. So I would suggest 4 o'clock. A motion? Anyone want to give me a motion?
I so move what you eloquently said.
Okay. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second it.
That was Jerry. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah. Jerry Raphael, I'm sorry.
Thank you. All in favor?
David Walsh, aye.
Jerry Raphael, aye.
Jake Brown, aye.
Scott O'Frias, aye.
And Justin Campbell, aye. All right, great. Thank you very much, everyone. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.